Good evening, my fourth grade family. This is Mr. J. I wanted to tune in real quick and clear up a couple of mistakes and misconceptions that the kids had. I noticed that this year some of the students have a lot of missed, I guess, empty foundational um, concepts that they didn't really grasp in the previous grade, right? So I noticed that the regrouping and subtraction is a big problem that I've experienced. Um, I noticed carrying over, not knowing that two numbers in one place value is not allowed, that you have to carry over. Okay. I noticed as well that that their basic facts, their multiplication basic facts, is not they're not honed in on that yet. Okay, they have not mastered their basic facts, their multiplication, their times tables. Um, so I wanted to go over a couple of problems that I've seen in the division topic 5 division quiz. I am not counting this quiz. I am not counting this quiz because there was a lot of errors, a lot of just silly mistakes that you would think that they know, but unfortunately they don't. And we have to make sure that they master these concepts before we move on to any division. Division deals with a lot of subtraction, okay? Because you're knocking down that dividend all the way down, and if you don't know how to subtract correctly, then you're not going to be able to move on or do any division, right? So that was a lot of mistakes and concerns that I had during this quiz. So let me just go over and show you what I mean, what I saw on the test, right? Let me first also show you how we as parents um, feel like we need to teach them, right? And I completely understand, right? Because long division was something that was taught to us, and that was pretty much the only strategy, the only method we've learned, okay? And I completely understand that. But the only problem that we face as teachers now is that when they go and it's time for them to take the test, there's questions in the test that require them to learn certain strategies. They will show them like certain parts of the new strategy, like partial quotients, that they have to fill in. They will show them a box method, right? One of the questions would have a box method, and they need to know these strategies and how they work in order for them to answer these questions correctly. And if they don't know these strategies, then they're going to fail. They're not going to do good on the test. So even though we want to show them our way, and I completely understand that, that's cool. It's good to have, right? It's good to know and have that in your, utility belt to use. But unfortunately, in the test that they're taking, they are required to know every strategy, or at least some part of the strategy, in order for them to get the answer to the question. So this is how we were taught, right? You would look, right? And my parents used to always like cover the first number, right? Oh, how many threes can fit in one, right? You'll say no, we can't. Then you go to the second. Okay, so how many threes can fit in 16, right? You would say, okay, it's 5. So 5 threes could fit into 16. 5 times 3 is 15, right? And you do subtraction. You do the subtraction here, so you would put 2, 9, 1. So now I'm done with 1,692. Now I'm down to 192. So then you do the same thing. You cover the 1. You said how many threes can fit into 1? You can't. How many threes can fit into 19, right? You'll say 6. So 6 times 3 is 18. You subtract, right? This would be 180 in reality, right? Because these are filled with zeros, okay? And then you'll say, okay, what's 192 minus 180? This is 1. This is 2. Then you'll look at, how many threes can fit into 12. You'll say 4. 4 times 3 is 12, and now we're down to 0. This is how I was taught. This is how my parents taught me, and I understand that. That's completely cool if you want to, teach the kids this, and for them to know it and to use it for later purposes. For, like, let's say if they have an equation, if it's just an equation like this, they're more than welcome to use that method. But then we have problems like this, where there's word problems, right? There's problems where they are required, right, to answer, to use partial quotients, right? So they need to know these other methods, unfortunately, for them to, grasp the concept. And I say unfortunately, but I also say fortunately, because these strategies do help. They do help. And me as a teacher, I've learned a lot of these strategies, and now I feel like I use them, more often myself. Place value and using the partial quotients and using the area model and all that good stuff. So I use it myself. But this is how we were taught, right? So this is the strategy that, I'm assuming we all as grown-ups and parents were taught. Now, the partial quotients is a little different. So partial quotients gives them the freedom, right, to use any number that they want that is nice and round, and they would multiply it times 3, and that answer from the number that they use, for example, I'm going to use 100. 100 times 3, the product, or better known as the answer to that multiplication, is 300. And that's what you need to take out from the dividend. Okay? But in the test, I had students wanting to use 100, right? But they would take it from the dividend directly and not multiply it times 3. So then they would take 100 from the dividend without multiplying it, okay? And they will get this here, 1,592. When that's not, you completely skip the step. Okay, if you want to use the 100, right? The 100 is nice round number. I always tell them, hey, listen, go if you feel more comfortable and easy to multiply 100 times 3, by all means use it. 100 times 3 is 300. Okay? Now you do your subtraction.
Would I be applying to...
Okay, now, the student, let's say they want to use 100 again. Let's use 100. These are all partial quotients on this side. 100 times 3 gives you another 300. Okay? Now this is 2, 9, 0, 1. Okay? Let's say they want to use another 100. Okay, let's use another 100. 100 times 3 is 300. And they're going to use these partial quotients all the way down until the number is smaller than the divisor and they can't make more groups of 3. Right? Or they just end up with 0. So right here, now we're down to, right, you used 100 again. Now you're going to take 300 from 1,092. Let's do the math here. 2, 9, and this is where the misconception is. Okay? They look at 0 minus 3. I have students answering with 3, completely forgetting to regroup. Okay? You cannot take 3 out of 0. So you need to borrow from the 1. The 1 becomes a 0, and the 0 becomes a 10. Okay? So now, 10 minus 3 is 7. Okay? I had students put 3, thinking that is 3 minus 0, right? But it's not. You're taking 3 from 0, and you can't do that, right? Because there's nothing there. Now, I had students also, right? They would put the 3 there, right? That's their first mistake. They forget to regroup. And they forget to bring that 1 down for some reason,
What is asking?
I have no idea.
What is asking?
Where is the disconnect there, right? So the first mistake is the regrouping. You have to regroup. This is a 10. You're taking the 10 from the 1 over. You're bringing that 10 over, converting that 0 into a 10, and this then turns into the difference is 7, right? 10 minus 3 is 7. So that's the first misconception, the carrying over, the borrowing from one place value to another, okay? Borrowing or regrouping, right? We call it regrouping or borrowing, okay? That's the first misconception. The second misconception is when it comes to carrying over and not having two numbers in the same place value. So let's say I have 1,423, right, plus 299. Okay? So we have 3 plus 9, right? 3 plus 9 is 12. I had students leave the 1 and 2 there and go to the next addition, 2 plus 9, right? Or I had students do this. They would, instead of taking the 2, right? Instead of taking the 1, which is what they need to take over and carry over, they would take the 2 and leave the 1. Okay? I'm gonna go over those concepts, right? The regrouping, carrying over, not leaving a number in the same place value, making sure that tens, right? For in this example, that tens gets transferred over to the next place value, right? You need to take the correct number over to the next place value, right? So I'm gonna open up those that center to go over those foundational skills. They need to know this, because if they don't know how to regroup, borrow, they don't know how to carry over a number to the next place value, if they don't know that they cannot have two numbers in the same place value, they cannot do anything else in terms of division and other math concepts that we're going to go over. And that's foundational. So another thing, real quick, another thing that I wanted to go over is them lining up their numbers and getting them ready to add. A lot of the students, right, I have it lined up correctly here, but you'll see students, and the partial quotients I use is 200, 50, and 6, right? But you'll see them rewrite their numbers in the incorrect place value. So you'll have 250, and let's say they'll have the 6 here, or they'll have the 6 here, right? And when it comes to them adding their partial quotients, it's going to give them an incorrect answer. This is completely incorrect. Or, let's say if they have their 6 over here, okay, it's a 0, 6, 7. It's a complete different answer. If you look at what I have written, and if you put the digits in the wrong place values, you're gonna get the answer wrong. You're gonna get the wrong answer. Okay. In this case, the correct answer and the correct alignment is 50, right? The 5 in the tens place, the 0 in the ones, the 2 in the hundreds place, right? The 2 zeros where they belong, and the 6 in the ones place, right? 200 is what I used. 200 times 6 is 1,200. Subtract that, then I use 50. 50 times 6 gives me 300. Subtract it from there. Then I use 6 times 6 is 36. Took 36 away from 39. Now I'm left with 3. Okay? So the alignment of the numbers was something that I also noticed that needs to be worked on, right? So we have 256 is the correct answer. Remainder 3. Okay? Remainder 3. I'm trying to think of all the misconceptions and all the errors so I could, let you guys know again and be transparent. And so you could know, okay, this is what we need to work on at home, at school, wherever we have time, right? So I believe that's it. Real quick, showing you how to rewrite this quotient with the remainder as a fraction, right? So, or as a mixed number. You would rewrite 256, right? This is the amount of groups of 6 that I was able to make out of my dividend, right? So this is my whole number. And then my remainder is my numerator, and my divisor becomes my denominator. And this is how you would write that quotient with the remainder as a fraction form, okay? So I'm gonna make another video to show you exactly how subtraction really works, like what happens when you're regrouping, you're taking away from one place value and just regrouping. Regrouping is writing the number, but completely different. It's still the same number, but you're regrouping. And subtraction, you're regrouping. You're borrowing from the hundreds place, right? Bringing it over and regrouping that number, so then you could do the calculation or you could do the math down. And I'm gonna make another video for that. But those are the misconceptions. Those are the little kind of errors that I see. It's like the kids, they know some concepts, like they have mastered some concepts. It's like when you're climbing a ladder, it's like you're climbing it, but you're missing steps. So you're getting up to the ladder, but then you're falling back down. And then you're getting up on the ladder, but then you're falling back down because there's some concepts that they don't know. So they don't have concrete foundational skills with like regrouping, knowing their basic facts, carrying over, and just simple things like that they need to tweak and get stronger at. So then they could really, really excel and do really good here at division and any other concept that we see. All right. Not every student made that error. I'm not going to say that every student made that error, but most of the students made that error. Now, another thing that I would love for you guys to sit down with them and go over is their multiplication facts. They do not know their multiplications. They do not know their times tables. Okay, we call it times tables, right? They're the hardest ones, I believe, is the 9s, right? The 8s, the 7s, a lot of misconceptions with the 6, the 12s, they have a hard time with, sometimes the 3s. So I would just encourage you guys, if you can, I'm going to do my part. I promise you that I'm going to do my part here as a teacher. I'm going to sit down with them. I'm going to try to take as much time I can, separate my, pull some students to the side and sit down with them and just try to hammer these foundations down so they can learn them. But there's only so much as teachers that we could do here. If you guys could, sit down with them at home, take 15, 20 minutes every day and just work on problems, make problems up, draw them on a piece of paper and just have them do it. Have them work on their multiplications. That'd be awesome. If you could do that, guys, I really appreciate that. And I'm just trying to get them ready for this fast test, for the fast test that's coming up. And I just want them to succeed. I love these kids. I care about them, and I want them to succeed. And I treat them like if they were my kids. So, yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. If you have, again, any questions, any concerns, just reach out. Shoot me a text. If there is some misunderstanding or something you don't agree with, it's fine. I'm open. I'm clear as day. I'm transparent. So just shoot me a text, call me. I'm available, and we'll go over it. Okay, guys? All right, guys. Have a great night and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.